So, Siobhan, thank you for joining us. I just turned on the
Sure.
recording. This is the Financial Aid Shop's Wednesday night live Q&A, where we answer questions for families that they might have, whether they're high school seniors just getting their financial aid award letters, or students already in college tackling issues related to the current situation with COVID-19. And we're trying to help them make sure that they're staying in school. So welcome. It's nice to have you.
Thanks. Great to be here.
There. So, Siobhan, it's my understanding that you're a parent of a high school senior and a high school counselor. Is that correct?
You are correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on for you? You're in Vermont.
Yep, we're in Vermont, and our governor has ordered that our schools be closed for the remainder of the year. And
Okay.
so we're trying to figure out the whole process of educating the students until June, till the end of the
Sure.
year.
Sure.
Yep.
Are you guys moving into remote counseling? How are you helping your high school seniors navigate this craziness of the college selection process, with financial aid offices being late, with May 1 deadlines perhaps being extended?
Yeah.
How are things going for your seniors?
So I just actually sent out a senior newsletter to our class of 2020, just kind of giving them some tips of things to be thinking about,
Mhm.
and some websites to check out, like NACAC's website on the ever-changing deadlines that are changing with
Sure,
colleges, and
sure.
um, who's having visits, who's not, who's doing virtual visits, things like that. um, and also explaining in the newsletter too, we have a lot of, like, I think across the country, families where people are losing their jobs. And so to be definitely reaching out to the financial aid offices to find out what can be next steps to see if they can get any more aid.
Great, great,
Yeah.
great. Well, I encourage you to have your students. You might want to post next Wednesday's Q&A. I might be here in California. I don't know Vermont state grant programs, but I could certainly get proficient in them if you feel that there's some value for your high school seniors participating in our Q&A.
Okay.
Good, good, good. So as a parent, how are things going?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yep. It's We have our son is looking at the state schools. Financially, that seems to be a good route to go.
Okay.
So based on his level of interest in school, and so he's sort of narrowing down which school he wants to go to.
Sure. So you said something, if I could just ask you a couple more questions, and then I'd love
Hmm.
to answer any questions that you might have. Uh, One of the things you just said was his interest in school. Is there a question about him going to college related to his academic abilities, his interests, his skill sets, his his emotional, intellectual preparation? Are there questions that you might say, hey, we might take a year and just do something else because it might just cost too much money? What are you thinking about that?
Sure, all of the above. Um, so he's not a lover of school, and so we've definitely been very open with him and saying, it's your choice. School's a huge financial commitment, as well as his time, and would hate for him to think that he has to just do that next step just because everybody else is.
Right.
And he can take time to go work, or if he's interested in the trades, there's plenty of jobs for in the trades that he could
Sure.
go into.
Sure.
So he's kind of spent this whole year um, thinking about that and kind of bouncing back and forth too. I want to take it. I want to go to work. I don't want to go to college. No, I want to go to college. I don't think I want to go right into work right away. So it's kind of been back and forth.
Uh-huh.
Um, but right now he's in a place where he's feeling like, I think that's the next logical step for me, is to go to college. And so we've been very open with him about, and if you change your mind, you do 1 year, that's fine. And you say, that's not for me, that's okay too.
Sure. So one of the things that we did last week on our Q&A was we walked through the net price calculator and the college scorecard for one of the public four-year colleges in your neighborhood. And while we don't have any specific financial information on you, it seemed like the average net cost for families was, I think, around $15,000. Does that worry you, knowing that you might put out that kind of cash or borrow that or some combination thereof to pay for college where he might not be successful?
Yes, sure, definitely.
But you're willing to
Um,
take the chance.
yeah, we're willing to take that chance, and we've really have talked to him a lot about, you don't have to do this, and it is a big, huge
Mm-hmm.
financial commitment, even after you chose. Like, if you do a year and you say, yeah, not for me,
Mm-hmm.
there's still that financial commitment afterwards.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things we talk about at the financial aid shop. It's not just a first year commitment, cash out of pocket, but if the student and the parent are borrowing loans, that's a 10-year add-on commitment that could cut into other aspects of your life as a parent and then your son's life as a young adult looking for an apartment, trying to buy a car. Families are even, young people are even hesitant to date and get married to students that have debt. So we want to make sure that our students are really borrowing responsibly. Do you have a great community college channel that he could explore?
Yeah, so well, we have Vermont Community College, and that we've also thrown that option out to him too, that if he wanted to do that,
Mm-hmm.
he could do a year with community college, and then if he loves it, he could matriculate into one of the other state schools.
Yeah.
He does have an interest in hopefully maybe being able to play baseball,
Okay.
which he can't do at community college.
Okay.
And so one of the schools he's looking at, he thinks he may or may not have a chance to play on the team, but he'd like to give it a shot and see if
Sure.
he could.
Sure. Sure. Well, these days, obviously, we're not playing a lot of sports anywhere in any field, but
Right.
there are some great community adult programs that you can play that are not related to the high ticket price of going to a college. So I know
Right.
here in California, as a woman and as an adult, I could find a soccer club to play soccer with that it wouldn't cost me out of pocket money to play or to have to borrow in addition to uh, going to school and playing soccer. So I think there's a lot of options. One of the things, maybe you're seeing this as well, is I think with where we are with COVID-19, in particular for our seniors, that those who decide to go to the community college in the first year will have more options for transferring to the 4-year because our schools will be more sensitive to the situation that the high school seniors are in right now. Are you seeing that in with your peers and college counselors, the conversations you're having with your peers?
Well, they're all pretty fresh. The news is ever changing every single day.
Sure.
My inbox is filled from email from colleges about what's happening, and I'm starting to see a trend with some schools, colleges saying um, that they're letting their students choose whether they want to be graded or receive a pass
Yeah.
grade at the end of the marking period, at the end
Yeah.
of the semester. And that's been kind of a question. Like, I have a student right now who's doing an early college. They're doing their senior year at our community college. And that's been kind of a question of, okay, well, if you do choose the P, will those credits then transfer on to the next school that you go on to? Will that college accept
Yeah. Yeah.
those credits if it's a P?
It is certainly a hot topic. I personally would recommend that a student does everything that they can to maintain the academic 4.0 scoring GPA and not take the pass fail option for the exact reasons that you're talking about. We want the students to continue to take courses online and successfully complete their high school curriculum as well as any college curriculum that they're taking, whether they're seniors or already students in college. I think it's a really tricky subject. But at the financial aid shop, we really recommend that students do everything that they can to get the grade because, to your point, we want them to be able to successfully transfer. And every time a unit doesn't transfer, that's just another day and dollar wasted to getting into their 4-year program and graduating so that they can get the job that they're looking for. So I am worried for our families. Perhaps I will do a post on that this week, Siobhan. I appreciate you bringing that up. Well, this has been really helpful. I'd like to get your permission if you would be okay. I could do a video recording of this conversation.
Sure.
Post it on Facebook. Great. So why don't we change gears? And why don't you, do you
Can I
have
ask
any?
a question?
Yes, of course.
When you first started talking to Siobhan, she was talking about a website, and she used an acronym I wasn't familiar with, but a place where people could go to find out what colleges were offering in terms of visits and things like that.
Sure.
Do you remember that, Siobhan, what you said?
It's
Yeah,
NACAC.
What was it?
NACAC.
Yeah.
Can you say?
It's the National Association of College Admissions Counselors.
And that's a website where people can go to learn about the colleges that are offering like virtual tours or.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm a member of the Western Association of College Admissions Counselors, and I'm keeping an eye on that organization. But I think to your
Okay.
point, this national organization is really important for all of our students who are looking at colleges nationally.
Yeah. So they're trying to keep a running list as things are changing in colleges, and they're coming up with whether they're going to delay their deposit date to June 1 as opposed to May 1, or something else. And they're also updating for students who can't make it onto their campuses because they're closed. What are the options for doing like virtual visits or talking with people from the campus?
Yeah. One of the schools that I work for actually that I worked for but pretended I was a student and was admitted, called me today and left a message about the virtual options and then followed up with an email. So I think that the schools that can and have the technology are sending communications to let them know about the dates and about the virtual options. Perhaps tomorrow I will do a posting on NACAC. I did update last week a list of the schools through WACAC that are doing all of their courses remotely and how they're picking up. But I think this is a really good, important topic. So we can refer to both NACAC and WACAC. So Mickey, thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate it. So why don't we switch gears? Is there anything that I can help you with?
Yeah, well, I would love to hear your take on what you think students and families should be doing now with COVID-19 going on, our current seniors, and any information that you might have for our juniors who are also, we're hopefully trying to get out to schools to visit this spring. And
so why don't we talk a little bit about our seniors first? The first thing that I would say for our high school seniors is that this is not a holiday. This is not an extended spring break, and that students should be doing everything that they can to get into a routine to maximize the online courses that their high school teachers are offering them. Continue with the assignments, take the tests, and do everything that they can to get a solid grade. I believe that there will be a lot of flexibility, but high schools will be reporting out senior second semester grades, and colleges will be asking for final high school transcripts. So if there are transcripts with all Fs, one could say, is this really COVID-19? Is this a student that just dropped the ball and gave up? There could be a lot of questions that could ask if the academic transcript in the senior year is not reflecting what they can do academically. So I think it's really important for our seniors to continue with their academics and do as much as they can. I know that for our student athletes and for our students in band and drama, that they're missing out on senior auditions and perhaps not able to perform and get those scores they need to be competitive with the programs that they're looking at in college, whether it be drama or sports. I would encourage these students to perhaps provide video testimonials to the college's coaches and to the drama departments to stay engaged and connected. There's nothing better than a video to talk about their experiences as a band member or as running track or playing a sport, and talk about not just their athleticism, but their contributions as a team member, how they've led the team or how they have contributed to supporting their community through the athletics association. So I think that there are other ways that an athlete or a musician or actress can share their abilities and talk more about themselves than just what it is that they do on the field or on the stage. So I think that would be really important. I don't think at this point in time there's any need for any test taking, nor are there options for any retesting. If that is a concern for a family, I would hold that until this situation is over. But many colleges and universities are going to award merit scholarships only on the scores that they have now and on their GPAs now. But if a score could improve, both a GPA or an SAT, ACT can improve, it is likely that a student could get additional merit money. So I don't think that we should give up on reporting better information related to scores to the colleges and universities that you're applying to. On a more personal note, I think it's important for them to take care of their health. I know I'm trying to walk my 2 miles every day up and down my street because this will clear up, and we want them to be able to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and excited about the college experience that's going to be coming ahead. For students that are planning, have always planned on staying at home, that's a great choice. The community college option saves a lot of money, but if they're going to the community college, they really have to have a plan. Sometimes students will get stuck at the community college and not make it into the four-year university 2 or 3 years out. So if the community college is a plan and the goal is to get a 4-year degree, really spend the time now understanding what courses they're taking at the community college to ensure that they'll be transferred to the 4-year university that they're looking at. There's been some data and some surveys that are suggesting that our high school seniors are not looking out of state or more than 100 miles from home. I get this fear, but I also think that at this point in time, colleges and universities are going to be hungry for students and might be offering more money. So at this point in time, if there are any colleges and universities that you're looking at that have already given you merit awards and or your need-based award from completing the FAFSA, I would strongly encourage the students to appeal for additional financial aid. You could do that by, if there's been no change in income as a result of COVID-19, send a testimonial video, write about your strengths, talk about how important the school is, that it's your first choice, and how as a student they would be able to contribute to that university or college life. So I think that appealing, even if there is no loss of income as a result of COVID-19, is a really strong strategy right now. So go to the school's website, look to see what it is that they were using to judge the student to receive merit awards and need-based awards, and write a letter against that information, focusing on your strengths and your interest in the college. Now, on the flip side, if there's been an income loss as a result of COVID-19, I would absolutely encourage the family to appeal for additional financial aid, both merit and need-based aid. Write the letter to admissions, write the letter to the financial aid office, and talk about what it is that has happened, that you've lost your job, that you've applied for unemployment, that you've received an unemployment check. Now, the financial aid offices, they're struggling. They're struggling to get award letters out, and they're struggling to respond to these requests. So it might take 10, 12 weeks, but be sure to submit with this letter your 2019 income tax returns, your 2020 projected year income statements, and your last check and information about your unemployment. Anything that you can provide to the college or university that shows a reduction of income and that this is going to hurt your ability to contribute towards your son or daughter's educational expenses will really help the financial aid office determine additional financial aid. Now, there might not be any new financial aid from the college, but perhaps additional eligibility from the federal government and from the state government as well. So those would be, I think, maybe 5 or 6 things that I would encourage our high school seniors to be thinking about. Now, our high school sophomores and juniors that we're going to do spring break campus tours, I would encourage them to do as much as they can remotely. Get online, research the colleges. When we're researching colleges, we want to be able to see the physical spaces, we want to see the dorms, but we also want to do research on the schools. We want to understand the school's financial health. So we want to look at data that would be provided in the consumer information on each of the school's websites. We want them to look at the college scorecards and the net price calculators and do some assessments to look at these colleges from an affordability perspective. And at the end of the day, there are no cars on the freeway, so it wouldn't hurt to actually get in the car if you want to drive 100 miles or 200 miles over a weekend and visit the campuses. And campuses might be closed, but you can drive around many campuses, maybe get out and stretch your legs and take a look at the campus environments. Hard to see residence halls and offices, of course, because they're closed. But many colleges and universities are trying to do meetings like this, very much virtual webinars. I did a coaching session for a financial aid counselor at a school in Houston, Texas, and we talked about how to do these kinds of webinars to help families ask Q&As. But I would encourage our sophomores and juniors to really just take the time to dig in and do the exploration and really research what's happening related to graduation rates, retention rates, what the average borrow indebtedness is, the incomes of the students that are graduating, to really understand not just the academics and the physical and the college spirit, but what you're going to get from that academic experience. I talk about this as I'm building my programs in the financial aid shop, is we really want to assess the risk and the rewards. And you can do your exploration and research on the web without visiting these college campuses to assess the risk and rewards of the colleges that you're looking at. I feel bad for our high school students right now. I want to give them all a big hug because I know they're going to be missing out on so many celebrations, grad nights, graduations are being canceled. So just a big hug to all of our high school students right now.
Yeah.
What do you think? Are those the things that you would encourage? Do you have anything that you'd like to add, Siobhan?
Yeah, I think those are all things that we've talked about with our students too, with this changing climate that we're in.
Good.
Another thing that you talked about the community colleges a couple times, and I'm wondering if you could talk about one thing that I think my colleagues struggle with when we're talking with students sometimes is we really do try to promote the idea of doing the community college route, maybe for the first year or first 2 years, and then matriculate, if they're thinking they wanted to go to the state university or state college system, and then do 2 years community college and then matriculate for the last 2 years to save some money. Do you have any suggestions on how we can better sell that? Because sometimes people are like, oh, that's not really a college. Community college is not really college. And we're like, yeah, it is.
Right. I think on some level, the community colleges get a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's also a historical conversation. Might not be as true for the publics as it is for the privates, but it used to be, and it could still very well be true, that if you started at a community college, the privates would say, well, you didn't borrow any money for your first and second year, so we're going to upload you with a lot of debt in your junior and senior year. Wow. I don't think that that's happening as much as it used to, but I do know one of the conversations that we have to be cognizant of is that if you start at a community college, are you losing out on scholarship money that you might have received as a freshman? So that would be the first conversation. I don't know if there is differentials in scholarship and need-based awarding for colleges in Vermont, but there are some situations I know at several colleges where you would get more merit money as a freshman than you would as a transfer student. Mm. So that would be one of the things I think that you would have to look at as a concern, as a question to ask. But you can certainly do your research and understand what the schools are doing for freshmen versus transfer students. It's also important as you're looking at the colleges and universities, what kind of academic support services are offered between a freshman and a transfer student. And you want to make sure that of course, the most important thing about attending a community college is that those units will transfer from the 2-year to the 4-year. So I think if you can tell a story in Vermont or in any state, in any town, in any community, that the coursework will transfer, that it will absolutely save you money, and that the college you transfer in will provide the resources, and that the student will be able to study a major that will support them through the 4-year and after graduation into work, that it seems like a no-brainer. But we really want to make sure that students are not borrowing more money than they would have borrowed if they had started at the 4-year university. There is some data here in California that suggests that a student that starts at a community college, because the amount of time that they sit at the community college before they move to the 4-year, are actually borrowing more money than had they just started at the school as a freshman at the 4-year institution. So it's important to really explore all of that data.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
And you can find a lot of that data online in terms of how they look at a freshman versus a transfer student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you would look up, when you look at, for example, the college scorecard, you can see how many students are starting as a freshman and graduating as a freshman, starting as a transfer, graduating as a transfer, their success as a transfer student. You can look at the transfer services. Many colleges and universities have specific support services for transfer students. You can ask very specific questions about transfer admission, transfer application data, and average financial aid for transfer students versus freshmen. Now, right now, our federal government is really only mandating data about freshmen, but I suspect transfer data will be becoming more available as more students are looking at transfer options.
And so if a student applied, say I was a senior and I applied to our Community College of Vermont and I applied to UVM, University of Vermont, and I would be able to see that information just in my financial aid award letter from both of those places. I could see the difference, right?
Well, if you applied to both and you had your FAFSA data being sent to both schools, they should provide you with a financial aid award that lists your federal and state financial aid eligibility and your loans. Now, I would encourage a student that if they're going to the community college to live at home so that they don't have to borrow the funding for their room and board expenses, and perhaps work as well. I would encourage students to work wherever they are to assist with their educational expenses. But you want to make sure that you're comparing the actual net price, not the sticker price, but the net price, so that you're actually able to compare apples to apples. But for a student that is not accepting a 4-year financial aid award starting at the 4-year university off the top, should really talk to the school about the options for coming in as either a second semester freshman or as a junior. Two very different grade levels and different financial situations that will happen. But the really important point, again, is that they take courses that will transfer.
Right. So those are good tips. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing with your high school juniors? Are they in a slump? Are they discouraged? What is the tone like there?
I think all of this going to online learning, I think they're so kind of overwhelmed right now with just trying to figure out school, how to do high school, that I think for many it might be on the back burner, trying to think about the college. We've planted some seeds to let them know about all the virtual opportunities and to keep researching and looking online for different colleges and doing some career interest inventories and things like that to make sure they're aware of what they want to focus on. And but I think they're pretty overwhelmed and inundated with emails from teachers and everything that they're just right now trying to ground themselves in how to do online high school.
Sure. Well, one of the things that we could perhaps talk about is that the financial aid formula, my online program, I am making available at high schools throughout the country. And my product, the courses that I'm offering are 18 strategies, and they're all very much nationally centric. There is a small conversation about California because that's my point of reference, but I do have specific videos for specific states. So perhaps you and I should have a conversation and see what we could do to get a Vermont state specific program, and talk to your school district and see if they would be interested in partnering together to offer this program to your high school juniors. It might be, it'd be a great program for seniors, but really the sophomores and freshmen, sophomores and juniors really should be taking a course that teaches them financial aid literacy, the vocabulary, the tools, many of the things that we've already talked about. But in the financial aid formula, I call it the ultimate college financial aid planning guide. We talk about everything from career assessments and skills assessments to how to keep your financial aid in college, and then all of the things that go in between: federal grants, state grants, federal loans, work study, how colleges determine financial aid eligibility. We talk about sticker price versus net price. So perhaps there might be a great conversation for us to have as you're slowing down after this, to get some of your students involved in the financial aid formula and get the parents involved too, because it is a big commitment, not just for the students, but for the parents alike.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate your time today.
Sure. Well, thanks for offering this.
Sure. Good luck. Let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you.
Sure.
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday we have a Q&A, and it must be in April 1st. Everybody must have thought it was a joke today. But please feel free to share this with your students. I know you're 3 hours ahead.
Yep.
Yeah.
Might be a little late, but if any of your students want to participate, please feel free to share the link. I'd be happy to spend a little bit of time getting up to speed on Vermont system, the Vermont grant program, to talk about that if that was to come up.
Okay.
Siobhan, I don't know if you're on Catherine's Facebook page, the Financial Aid Shop Facebook page, but that's where the information is about this this class. And then also she posts, like she was saying, she's going to do a post tomorrow about some of the things we talked about. So it's really kind of a great resource for information too.
Okay, great. I'll have to look that up on the Facebook.
Yeah.
The Facebook.
On the Facebook.
Yeah.
The Facebook. Well, listen, have a great night tonight. Maybe I'll see
Thank you.
some of your students next Wednesday.
Okay. Well, thanks, Catherine.
All right. Good to see you. Be well.
Good to you too.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.